It's time to put your health in your own hands. Get ready to learn from today's top health and wellness innovators and thought leaders on Optimal Health Radio. Now, here's your host.
Hi, this is Tammy Patzer, and I'm really excited to introduce today's guest, Laura Nelson STREICHER. She completed her Bachelor of Arts degree in mathematics and in economics cum laude in 1983 at Randolph-Macon Women's College. She had a successful career as an analyst and manager in advanced software development. As a natural-born healing facilitator, she has sought a way to develop her consciousness and abilities. STREICHER began practicing yoga, meditation, and holistic healing, but it was not until she met Guruji Mahendra Trivedi, founder of the Trivedi Effect, in February 2010, that she truly began to discover the power of her innate healing abilities. She was impressed by extensive scientific validation and testimonials related to the results of the Trivedi Effect. She was then deeply moved and inspired by the energy transmission effects on her father, who was recovering from a stroke. At that time, she committed to the Trivedi Healers Mastery Program. Laura's abilities to harness and transmit intelligent life force energy has been scientifically validated as published in her biofield energy transmission experiment results. Welcome, Laura.
Hi, Tammy. It's great to be here.
I'm really interested in the Trivedi Effect. Can you tell me more about what it is?
Yes, the transformation, the Trivedi Effect is the transformation and catalyzation of organic and inorganic substances. And through the Trivedi Effect, everything is transformed to its highest purpose and potential. That means it's potentiated. The energy is intelligent and focused. And when I'm harnessing the grace, divine grace, or the life force energy, it's transmitted through me. I'm just a conduit for that. And in the process, its intelligence and focus has an effect on the recipient to enhance their potential, to align them more with their divine purpose, and to increase the amount of grace and flow of ease and wholeness in their lives.
Wow. So basically, you are a conduit for this life force energy, and it is helping you to connect to life force or the God of your understanding. Is that how I understand that?
Exactly. Very well said. In fact, that is the whole point, is the more that one is connected to the source of their understanding, the God of their understanding, whatever their belief system, the organizing power of the universe, because we know there's an incredible amount of organizing power for all the planets to be the way they are and things to flow in nature the way they do. This energy connects an individual or a plant or an animal to that source of their being and their expression, their divine expression. And so through trauma or experiences that have caused us to maybe leave a little bit of ourselves behind or scattered or fragmented, this energy helps sort of reorganize. Like Guruji speaks about it like a magnet. If you think of iron filings on a piece of paper, it's, this is this marriage, this is this relationship, this is this life experience. And they're a little bit scattered because of trauma or fragmentation or problems that happened in those experiences. But when this energy is harnessed, it sort of brings it all together in an organized fashion, like a magnet, and enhances that process of healing from trauma and aligns one more for that flow of divine flow in their lives, so that they're more directly applicable. They're more they're more focused in their purpose and without any hindrances. When someone has had a bad experience, it takes them a while to maybe get used to if they've had a bad relationship, it takes a while to get used to feeling trusting in a new relationship and building better foundations. And this energy helps one connect to that source of the divine, which is built on trust and faith, and or the power of nature organizing what's best for that person to learn in a relationship.
Wow. That's really interesting to hear about that. I want to know more about how you came to meet Mr. Trivedi and how that experience has brought you to today, because you met him in 2010, and here we are in almost the end of 2018. So it's been about 8 years. So can you tell me a little bit about that beginning and the journey that you've been on?
Yes. As you mentioned, I have a background in science and math, and I worked in that field. And although I was productive and successful, I felt that something was missing. So I started seeking other sources of fulfillment. And someone told me that Guruji or Mr. Trivedi was going to be speaking at this auditorium in my town. And so I attended, and he presented over 350, he has 350 papers published on his work. And the slides were showing before and after pictures of crops that he had given energy transmissions to. And the difference in the control group and the groups that had received the energy transmissions was so significant that really appealed to my scientific self. And the other aspect of my life has been more spiritual and spirit-led since I guess 1993 or so. And he just had this energy about him. It was so calming, so relaxing, and so peaceful. And as you had mentioned, my father had a stroke a few months before I met Guruji, and it was Guruji gave the group an energy transmission at that time, and it was so relaxing and so healing and so energizing at the same time. I signed up for individual energy transmissions after that, and when I received those, I noticed that my whole family shifted. It had been sort of anxious, and my parents were taking anti-anxiety medications, and my dad was on an antidepressant. The whole family shifted, and it was like a cloud had lifted, and everything sort of relaxed, and there was an air of gratitude, an air of positivity and flow, and just Dad was focused on his recovery. He fully recovered. And then later, as my parents aged, I found that the energy transmissions and the program I was in were very, very supportive to my traveling back and forth between Iowa and Louisiana to support them in different levels of their care as they aged. And it just provided me a path of grace, and I felt very spirit-led in every level of caring for them until they did pass. And it also supported me in other areas of my life, in working with my husband who has some health issues, and starting my business, which has been growing. And so thank you for asking.
So as a caregiver, you have a lot of experience working with caregivers, and I actually have a friend who has a radio show called The Caregiver's Caregiver, because a lot of times caregivers need that extra care themselves because they're expending so much energy in that caretaking process of taking care of their loved one. Have you found that the Trivedi effect energy has helped you to become stronger or more capable as a caregiver?
Yes, Tammy, many times caregivers tend to forget to put themselves first, and they become depleted and more tired than they perhaps should be in doing that work. And I felt much more uplifted and much stronger and more focused and more capable of caring, which is one can go through the motions, but to have that feeling of tenderness and privilege of caring for someone is a real gift. And I think that comes from the layers and layers of gratitude, which I think are directly related to receiving these energy transmissions and allowing more grace in my life. And I had a client who moved to Florida, and she had 2 children, and she was feeling unfocused and couldn't manage to accomplish anything. And after one energy transmission, she said she felt grounded, focused, clear, and on track. And then she immediately was called upon to support a friend who was dying. So, she felt more in alignment to support her friend and to take care of everything in regards to that. Yes.
So there's something called the ripple effect. And I think you've kind of been describing that when you were talking about your family. Can you talk a little bit more about how the energy actually works and what this ripple effect concept is?
Great question. Yes, when I noticed the change in my family, that was after I had received 2 or 3 energy transmissions. I didn't feel guided to do it directly for my parents, as they were somewhat delicate. And what people who are delicate can receive them, but as always, one has to be self-referral to one's inner guidance about what's the right thing. The more connected one is to their source, then they know whether they should get the energy transmission for themselves or someone else. But the ripple effect is when a person, like when I received my energy transmission, it ripples out to those who are closest to us, like my husband, my parents, my family, my friends, even my clients. It's something that is, it's like the drop in the pool of water. It just ripples out. And it's having that, it's just natural to have a flow of energy in the way that one conducts their lives. It's just the energy is intelligent, and allowing that energy to flow through you to friends and family is just part of it. It's just a natural phenomenon. It's something that occurs by nature of the way it works.
Can you tell me more? I was thinking about this, about how people, all of us know, for example, let's say that you believe in God, but you can't see God, right? You have faith, but you don't see this. So obviously you can't really see this energy, but you can feel it. When you've had an energy transmission, how do you know? Do most people have like this revelation or this feeling, or what are some of the signs that if somebody were trying to feel it or know that it was working, what might they encounter in feeling or seeing or whatever?
That's a really good question, Tammy. Some people notice it right away. It depends on the feeling and sensitivity levels. Some people notice the results right away. Some people feel fatigue or need to rest and then notice increased energy in their lives. I had one client, she had amazing experience in receiving the energy transmission. She felt all this energy, and then after like a day or two, she was like, well, I was expecting some kind of amazing thing to happen, like somebody give me a house or something, and it was like, no. But she said, but I did feel like I'd been on a rounding course. And a rounding course is when someone meditates for like 8 hours, 4 to 8 hours over the weekend. And it's extremely relaxing and soothing. So she didn't realize up front that she had an effect until she said, oh, it was like a rounding weekend. Well, that's a big thing when you meditate all that time. So, some people don't notice it right away, like I said, but then maybe a day or two, they've got all this energy for a project that they've been on which they've been procrastinating. So I've had that happen. And then others, it can be gradual, like the tide coming in. You know, a soft feeling and uplifting. Some people, particularly people who are very stressed, it can be just simply relaxing and allowing them to have more ease. And if they don't notice anything, maybe give it a little while and notice if there's some more smoothness in their lives.
I know that Gurji told me that some things it can take months.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So not to like think like, tomorrow the whole world is going to change. And that makes sense because it's a transformational process. And if you're working on getting in touch with your higher power or the God of your understanding, you have to be growing and opening up to this. That's one of the things that I've really noticed. So in all of the things you mentioned that you had been trying to develop your spirituality since 1993, and I thought it was interesting that you had a date about, that it, 1993. Did something happen in 1993 that made you say, hey, I need to develop this side of my life? Or did you recognize something about yourself that made you say, I need to start looking and developing the spiritual side of myself?
Yes, thank you. In 1993, I guess it was 92, I finished a really amazing, once-in-a-lifetime project for someone in the math and computer science field. And it was extremely rewarding intellectually. But like I said, something was missing. And I had been going to different churches trying to find what was missing. And finally, the meditation sort of appeared in my life, and the yoga and that sort of thing. And it just deepened. And I think you mentioned Mr. Petty had said that sometimes it takes months. I think people have layers of ego and resistance to spirituality and their innate true nature even. And sometimes our nature deepens through the experiences that we have. And so each step along the way is a step closer to that, our divine source, if we surrender to that. That's why my website starts out with let your spirit lead, because the more you allow your spirit to lead you, and the more that grace enters your life, because you're more aligned with your natural characteristics and the abilities with which you're blessed. And in that process of moving from more deeply towards source and more deeply in spirit, one lets go of the trappings that maybe were limiting their ability to fulfill and express their true spiritual nature. And the idea is that when one is being one's truest self in nature, one is having a positive influence on everyone, every place, and everything too.
Wow, that's really fascinating because, if you think about it, 1993, that's been a while, 20 some years of this development. Like you said, I have met many people within it who are interested in the Trivedi effect, who are very high level business people. And that seems to be what they all say. It said, well, yes, I have this fabulous business. Intellectually, I have all this, and they may be wealthy, but there's something missing. And then when they met Gurji and they had that experience of the energy transmission, it was like they had this knowing that they had found something that they'd been seeking. I always find that fascinating how people, I've heard the same story several times from many different people from all different walks of life about when they met him and that significance that they just knew that it was something special?
Well, one of the things particularly about Guruji is that he is so truthful. He's very honest, and as a guru and teacher, he won't let people delude themselves. He makes sure that they are clear, and he points it out to them when they are off track. And that's also what the energy does. It helps guide you into more honesty and truthfulness with yourself. It's just a natural phenomenon because it's the way of nature. The more receptive one is to that, the more ability they have to receive. It's called bioavailability to the energy. And if one is releases the ego or allows or is willing to have the ego step aside and receive this, it supports one in the expression of their best and highest potential. And Guruji really is an exponent, an embodiment of that energy, and the Trivedi energy or transmissions evoke that in people who are more bioavailable. In fact, the energy transmissions have been done in the research science projects to show that the energy transmissions make products more bioavailable for use, longer shelf life, more potent results. And for I was in a group project science experiment, and we had 11 articles published regarding that on the effects of herbal mineral compounds and how they affected rats and mice. And we just finished last night a science experiment with 7 areas of human health, which is really going to be groundbreaking and paradigm shattering because we had like 12 to 15 different substances like vitamin C, B12, B6, zinc, magnesium, and other minerals and herbs. Those are all minerals and vitamins, and they're going to test on how they affect certain human cells in the liver, lungs, heart, kidneys, bone, and vitamin D receptors in the bones. And so it's really fascinating, this groundbreaking work and finding out how the effectiveness. And this experiment was 23 different individuals, and it's testing the effects of 23 of each of us on an individual level and giving the energy transmission.
Wow, that is phenomenal that you're participating in that and that you've already done some groundbreaking scientific research. I can really see how someone with a mathematics and economics background would really be attracted to doing scientific research, because mathematics and economics, obviously, they use a lot of science in that. So when you work with people, who do you like to work with the most with the energy? What type of people?
Well, it always seems to be most effective with people who are open to being their best selves. It doesn't matter what profession they're in. I've worked with caregivers, moms, all kinds of professionals, and the best results are when someone is willing to surrender to their deepest truth and their natural characteristics, because and there's some aspect of allowing grace to improve every area of their lives. And my husband's business has gotten better he's received energy transmissions from Guruji, and some other people I have worked with had new ideas and had felt more innovative and more creative and had good results in their business. So it's about the organizing power and allowing the organizing power. And if you think about the universe and how the planets are related to each other, and all the science and layers of science and math and organizing power between each of the planets and how they function in relation to each other. And it's there are same mathematical formulas between interactions with people too. And so those things can adjust if you just allow the solving of equations on that level. And it's not an intellectual process. It's a surrender to the gratitude in your life for whatever God presents. I mean, even I know you've had some challenges with like bad things happening, and you've surrendered to. Yes, you've surrendered to. There was a lesson in here. If this hadn't happened, I wouldn't have done that. If this hadn't happened, I wouldn't have done that. And that's a really broad and gracious perspective on the wholeness that these energy transmissions give. They bring more wholeness, and so it's not us versus them, or it's about working in a framework where everything can be a gift and something to be learned from, and using your divine guidance to allow the knowledge and wisdom to accumulate for better and better progress in your lives. And that's why the energy transmissions are also offered in subscriptions as well as individual transformations, because the growth and the development of the person and the person's potential is cumulative, and in some cases the growth is geometric or exponential, depending on their willingness and their ability to harness divine grace in their own lives. Because the more that one receives the energy transmissions, the more one can become attuned to attracting more grace and magnetism in their own lives, and for more order and more healing and more flow and more functionality.
Well, I think that that's true, because I have noticed, for example, my workload just increased by 34 times. And I feel like I'm in flow, that everything is just going along very smoothly. If some appointment falls through, that's okay. We'll just make it for another time. Everything just really seems to be in flow, and my stress level, really, I'm not feeling hyper stressed at all. I'm feeling like, hey, I'm going to get it done. It's going to be really great. And everything's just going to keep moving forward and flowing forward. And there's a certain sense of peace. And I think that, again, I always feel like I'm very protected no matter what. Because I do receive the energy transmissions also. And that's one of the things that I've personally felt, that I just feel a sense of protection, a sense of peace, that, obviously we all have life. Life happens. We're in our lives. And of course, we're not in, other people and things, and all kinds of things are happening. But at the same time, I feel like I'm better able to just function. Like you said, focus and function. The path is more clear. I do feel a deeper connection. And that's why I really enjoy talking about it, because when I talk to different people and how they're using it like you, I get this clearer picture about my own experience. And I'm able to go, oh, and I can appreciate it a lot more, because I'm able to recognize it when other people tell me their experiences. So that's what I think is really interesting. And the science, I think, and I've read a lot of the science papers, and also obviously the press releases that have gone out on them, I've been involved with. And so it's very interesting how much work has gone into proving the energy transmissions and how they affect, humanity and animals and inanimate objects and agriculture and everything. And like you said, this is breakthrough. This is changing the paradigm of what we think about energy. So it's really cool to be part of it along with you, Laura. So Laura, is there anything else that you'd like to add? And I really want you to tell people how they can get in contact with you, your website, if you have an email, any other contact information.
Well, I quickly want to say that I was given this gift through being a part of Mr. Trivedi's programs, and that is how this evolved for me. And it was through his programs, and I wanted to express my gratitude about that, about his influence on my life. And my website is laurastreicher.net. It is still under development, but it will be open. It will be live soon. My phone number is 641-919-6536, and my email is laura@laurastreicher.net if you want to contact me. I guess I have one more thing to say, and that is I feel very privileged to be here with you today, Tammy, and thank you for your support and letting me talk about something that is important and significant in my life. It's very much a part of my life.
Well, thank you so much. And we'll be talking again in the future. So, Laura, I really appreciate all the time you spent with me and everyone. This is Tammy Patzer. Go make it a beautiful day.
You've been listening to today's top health and wellness innovators and thought leaders on Optimal Health Radio. To get more solid health and wellness information, visit optimalhealthradio.com.